Good evening, everyone. Pat Beliveau here again. It is Thursday, the 18th of June, 2020. This is a video that's actually was a video topic request by Dennis in Toronto, and he wanted to know a couple of things. He wanted to know about what he called them whack gigs or wacky gigs that I've ended up playing over the years, and also dealing with record companies. So I think I'll do the record company thing first. Now, my scenario is I'm not signed to a label presently or anything like that. So I have done recordings for labels, of course, and most of those have been sessions that are buyouts. So I'll get contacted by whoever it is. It's not usually a record company representative. It's somebody, maybe the person who's producing the session or whatever, and they'll ask me what I charge for whatever it is that they want me to do, or they will say this is what we have the budget for, and then I'm in a position to say yay or nay to it, whatever. I have been on recordings of some, of the major labels in Canada. I did a video shoot years ago for a singer guitarist by the name of Jason McCoy, who's with the band called the Roadhammers. We did a Christmas show actually that was broadcast on country music television, and part of the show that we played was in a horn section backing Colin James because he was one of the guests on the show. It was, interestingly enough, a Christmas show that was filmed in April. And that was released through EMI Records. So actually, we didn't record for a record, but then EMI stepped up to the plate and said that they want to actually release it as a recording. So we got paid for the video shoot. And then when EMI decided that they wanted to release it as a commercial recording, we got paid again for the actual recording. The other one, I'm on one track of Jann Arden. Jann Arden recorded an album years ago called "Uncover Me," which was a song of cover tunes that she grew up with that she wanted to record, and I've known and been friends, really good friends with, and had some great hangs with her former guitarist and co-writer Russ Broom, and they've won a bunch of Junos together and stuff. And Russ called me up and said she wants to do "Son of a Preacher Man," and there's horns on that track. Could you lift the track for me? Which I did. He sent me an MP3, and I lifted the horn parts and kind of added a few little, shall we say, herbs and spices of my own. I kind of put on the top for credits. I said lifted and mildly tampered with by Pat Beliveau. So, and I brought that to the table, and we did the session for her. That was released through Universal Canada. And again, too, it was basically a buyout of, I got paid to lift and arrange the horned parts. Plus, I also got paid for the recording session, but it wasn't anything where I was under contract by the record company. So the one thing that did happen that I did do, it actually was something that was supposed to happen and going to happen, but it ended up falling through, was that I was going to re-release some tracks from my first record that I recorded in 1997. And that was an independent release. We were going to re-release that, remaster it, and then re-release it, but add a few more tracks onto it of present day. So I guess it was going to be kind of like sort of a compilation, but sort of not. And I was offered a distribution deal through a label in Edmonton, but to be distributed through Universal Canada. The only thing is that fell through when the funding didn't happen to get that rolling. But anyway, one of the things I did do was they sent me a contract, and I have a very good entertainment lawyer that I've had for, oh boy, 15 years now, something like that, maybe. I can't even remember, to tell you the truth. And his name's Wayne Logan, and here in Calgary. And anything like that, I send his way. Now I don't know, I can't remember exactly what his hourly rate is, but I think it's something like 340 or 350 bucks an hour or something like that. So, but I thought I got to send him this contract to look over, and I did. It didn't take him an hour because I think he charged me 225 bucks or something. And he said to me, it's not the best contract he's ever seen, but it's certainly not the worst. So that kind of gave me peace of mind that at least I know, with all the legalese and stuff that they have, at least I know that they're not trying to siphon money from every possible place that they can, right? Vacuuming my wallet per se. But it didn't happen, so it was a non-issue. But I think one of the things that I would say when it comes to dealing with record companies, I think it would probably be to your benefit. In fact, I know it would be to retain legal counsel, just even for them to review any kind of contract that is sent your way. I remember being down in Toronto in 1999 for Canada Music Week, and then also attending the Junos at the Cops Coliseum in Hamilton. And I was staying at a friend's place there, and I remember when the television station BET, Black Entertainment Television, came out. I didn't have it yet, but I was at this friend's place and I was watching BET, and it was an interview with Shaka Khan. And the interviewer said to her, "We only have a few minutes left, but I wanted you to answer a question and expand on the idea that if there's somebody up and coming and new to the businesses, wants some advice about about breaking into the business and that kind of a thing, and so on and so forth. What could you offer them? What would you suggest?" And of course, people might think, "Oh, well, practice your craft and be the best you can," and all the things that you might think she would say. Right away, like with very little hesitation, if any, she says, "Get yourself a good lawyer." I get it. I totally get it. I think that it's probably one of the best things that you can do is to retain legal counsel to review any contracts that are sent your way, just to make sure that your piece of the pie is going to be something that's fair and there's no other back end things that potentially could be taken from you. One of the things to be mindful of, and I know this, it's never happened to me, but I know, doing some research on this and hearing other stories and so on and so forth, it's not only about the record and the sales of the units and all that stuff, but it's also things like publishing as well. Publishing your material, especially if it's your original material. Just make sure that you have as much protection in place and the deal is as fair as can be for you. Be careful of the fact that, "Oh, I'm getting signed to a label, so I really want this to happen, so I'll just sign the paper and be happy," and all that stuff. You got to do your due diligence there and just make sure that you're not being taken advantage of. Record companies are in it for one primary reason, and that's to make money. And that's their main thing. I won't say that they're the devil, but again, it depends on the label. When you're dealing with more the major labels, this is where it can be, like if you're dealing with the Sonys and EMIs and Universal and Warner and all that stuff, it's kind of I would be more careful dealing with them than the more independent labels. Regardless, I think it's important that you do retain legal counsel and make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. I hope that answers that question. Like I say, I unfortunately, I'm not in a position where I've been signed to a label, with a multi-CD deal or something like that. I know guys who have, and live to tell about it. So it's not all doom and gloom or anything like that, but you just want to make sure that you're protected. That would be my suggestion and my advice on that. Just make sure that things are fair and that your situation, your affairs are taken care of as well. because, like I say, record companies want to make money. That's what keeps them going. So you want to make sure that you're covered, though, too, as an artist, especially if you're dealing with original material that's your intellectual property. They can't take away any SOCAN royalties or anything like that. That won't happen because you're the creator. So register yourself with SOCAN. If you know about SOCAN, Society for Composers, Authors, and Music Publishers of Canada, that's where you get royalties for airplay. I should maybe do a video more on some of the royalty driven organizations, because there's more in Canada and stuff. So I would say if you're writing material and you want to record it, join SOCAN. It's free. So send them a message, or go and just register on the site, and then you can start registering your works and stuff. So, but anyway, retain legal counsel. You'll maybe put out a bit of money, but at least you'll have peace of mind. And like I said, that's what I did with my lawyer, Wayne Logan, when that distribution deal with Universal came up. Like I spent $225 or whatever, but at least he came back to me and gave me peace of mind of the fact that contract was not malicious, or they weren't trying to take real advantage of me, that kind of thing. So that was good. I hope that kind of answers your question. If there's anything else you want to know about that, or if I haven't, if I haven't answered everything the way you want me to, send me a message and contact me again, because you've already reached out to me once. So reach out to me again, and I can do a follow-up with you if you want, as a follow-up video. Okay, so the next thing, wacky gigs. Now, I've been, over the last day or two, I've been trying to think about this. I don't know if I've ever done any wacky gigs, like, I don't know, like, dressed up in jockstrap snowshoes and Viking helmet or something like that. I've never done, luckily, anything that has required that, but I have been on gigs where wacky stuff has happened, or just, stuff that you wouldn't expect. Not
expectations high.
Okay, sorry, I should have shut that off. Just got a text. Sorry about that. Yeah, we'll just keep right on going here. Sorry. There's a few things that have happened where it's been wacky stuff that's happened. Or it's a gig, it's an unusual gig. And one of them that first came to mind was I played at a place here in Calgary called the Dean House on the edge of Inglewood. And it's an old house. It's a historical landmark in Calgary. And I got called by the groom of a wedding party. And he knew I was a sax player, and we were talking about what he would want at the reception. He wanted me to play at the reception. So I said, okay, fine. He said, but we want something different, which that's a loaded request. I don't know what that means. But after talking a little bit with him, he said, well, I don't want an alto or a tenor. I said, well, I can play baritone. He said, perfect. I said, okay, so would you like me to hire like a keyboard player, guitarist, anything like that? He said, no, I just want you to play solo. I said, okay, like I'm busking on the 8th Avenue Mall or something, or, at a whatever, a park. He said, yes, that would be perfect. I said, okay. So I showed up, and I think for about, 45 minutes to an hour, I went walking around the Dean House, just playing standards and freely improvising on them. Not something I normally do. Not that that's wacky, but it's unusual. It's different. I don't think I've ever been called for a gig like that since. But yeah, that was an interesting thing. These are some of the things you don't expect. Another one that I thought about too, again, not wacky, but just the circumstances are, you don't expect it, right? I was contacted to play at the Petroleum Club here in Calgary. And it was in the 90s, and it was, I can't remember which year, but one of the years that the Blue Jays were in the Toronto Blue Jays baseball team were in the World Series. And they told me that you won't have to play unless there are reservations or walk-in traffic. Then you play as background, I think it was me and a piano player. So I showed up, and it was like you could hear crickets. So there was nobody there. There were no reservations on the book. So I walked in, I put my stuff down. They had the Blue Jays game on a big screen TV. So I went in, and here I am dressed in a tux. I sat down and I watched the whole Game 5 of the Blue Jays in the World Series. I can't remember which year. Didn't play a note. Collected my money and left. That was it. So getting paid to watch the Blue Jays was pretty cool. I wish that was more of a daily occurrence, but unfortunately it's not. But, it was great for that one time. I also did a gig as well in a big band in the Saddle Dome where the Flames play. It was a big real estate thing, and it was in a big band. And we were scheduled to play 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. So I arrived at, I think, 20 after 8 or something like that, 8:30. Got set up and ready to go. We went to the green room. We hung in the green room and kept being told, no, they're not ready yet. They're not ready yet. So we waited and waited and waited. I kept looking at my watch, and we were just hanging out, talking and blah, blah, blah. Finally, I look at my watch, and it's like 25 after 12, and I hear them wrapping up the speeches. So this big band, we went out, I think when we finally got out to the stage, it was 20 to 1. So we played 20 minutes, packed up and left, because that was the contract, because they had to shut down at 1 a.m. So we played the gig for 20 minutes. Thank you very much. Collect the check. Good night. And that's how that was. So that was it wasn't as easy a gig as the Petroleum Club watching the Jays game, but it was still, pretty simple. It was, not taxing at all, put it that way. I know one gig I did, it was a duo. This is probably one of the more well-paid casual ones I've done, just for a one-nighter, was driving out to Invermere, BC, to play for a heli-skiing company, just a duo, and keyboard and vocals, and me. And the gig paid $1,900 plus accommodation and food. So I think we played for an hour and 45 minutes. I think the drive back and forth was certainly worse than the actual gig as far as time was concerned. The leader took $1,000. I took $900. Hello. Like I say, we had accommodation, we had meals. It was wonderful. So again, not a gig that's like that doesn't happen. Well, it doesn't happen enough, really, but that doesn't happen really at all. So they're not usually, that lucrative, or for an hour and 45 minutes. But I think here's one more. It's not wacky, but it's posh, shall we say. And I was going to do a video on this, but I don't think, I don't know. I'll see. But anyway, I was asked to play the wedding for Calgary's only billionaire family, the Mannix family, out in Banff years ago. And he flew all his guests in, trucked them out to the Banff Springs Hotel. It was a very swanky event. He had china specially made for the event. Brought in the band from all over the country. I was one of 3 saxophone players. There was me, Dave Babcock from Edmonton, and Tom Koklow from Vancouver. We had our guitarist, Larry Roy, was from Winnipeg. Our lead trumpet, Dave Jackson, was from Halifax. Drummer, Graham Boyle, was Vancouver. I believe it was Miles Hill on bass, who's also from Vancouver. I can't remember absolutely everybody, but that gives you an idea. He flew in Petula Clark from Switzerland, her and her MD, to play a 45-minute set at the Banff Springs. And we went up there to back her up. It was about a 3-day event. He had music, bless him. He had live music the whole time. Anything from like a solo harpist up to the big band that we played in to back Petula Clark. He initially tried to get Barry Manilow. I guess Barry Manilow was a favorite of either him or her, or both. I'm not sure. And I know this because I was speaking to the contractor about this, and The bidding or the offering to Barry Manilow stopped at $240,000 US for a 45-minute set. And Barry said no. He had just gotten off of a 53-city tour of North America, and he didn't want to do it, so he didn't. But Petula Clark came in from Switzerland for that 45 minutes. And we played that show. He put us all up at the Banff Center, like the Performing Arts. And we got paid very well. I don't remember exactly what it was, but we got paid very well. And I know, talking to one of the organizers, he spent 50 grand alone in flowers. And apparently the final amount for the whole wedding came out at about $1.2 million. So, but I mean, to a billionaire, that's probably like, $100, or it feels like it. But anyway, so again, not wacky, but just really, I won't say over the top, because it wasn't over the top. It was classy, but it was pretty swanky. Let's put it that way. So, honestly, I can't say that I've had really, really wacky type gigs. I've had some weird scenarios, but and these are just a few. I mean, trust me, I've got this would be like a 2-hour video, and it can't be. I don't want it to be that long, but I mean, just some of the ones that came to mind over the last few days. These are ones that I thought I might make mention of. So there's always something, and when the phone rings, you never know what you're going to be asked to do, under what circumstances, what kind of stuff you're going to play. All that stuff. So, I mean, I guess that also is what makes freelancing really interesting. And I kind of like it. I kind of like the fact that I never know what I'm going to be faced with, because that does keep it interesting, So I appreciate that part of it. So anyway, again, too, I hope that, just shed some light on a few things. Again, too, Dennis, if, or anybody that's listening, if you want to have a little bit more follow-up to anything I've said, contact me again. Or contact me, anybody who hasn't talked to me yet, send me a message, and I'll do a follow-up video if you want to. Speaking of that, my email address that's tied to this YouTube channel, I'll post below. It's youtube@belltones.ca, youtube at belltones.ca. You can send me an email there, and I will respond to you. I'm very good about that. Unless you're spamming me or sending me weird stuff, then I will not correspond with you. But and nobody has, and I appreciate that. That's great. But yes, if you have a legitimate comment, question, or topic you want addressed or whatever, yes, please contact me. Okay, thanks very much for listening. I'm at 23 minutes here, so I'm going to wind it up. And like I say, Dennis or whoever, if you want a follow-up video, I can do that. Just let me know what it is you want me to follow up with. Okay, thanks, guys and gals. Take care. Good night.